everyone. Welcome to another episode of Quality Talks podcast. I'm Stu Day. Unfortunately, Chris can't be with us again this episode, but I do have a very special guest, our very first guest that's joining us. Not quite the same as the big Geordie hole that's missing in my heart right now, but special guest, switch your camera on, please. Ah, it's Vern! Hey, Vern!
What's up, Stu?
How you doing, mate?
I'm okay. I am absolutely giggling at the thought of Richard's face when he sees me on this podcast. It's going to be hilarious. But no, thanks for inviting me on, man. Thanks for inviting me on. Appreciate it.
No
Glad to help
worries.
out.
Thank you very
Shout
much
out
for
to Big
joining
Chris.
us. Yeah, shout out to Chris. Yeah, hopefully Chris will be back soon. I need that Geordie in my life. I can't live without that Geordie in my life. So yeah, but I've got the next best thing. I've got the tester from Leicester on here. So yeah, what more can we say? Well, first of all, I just want to say massive thank you to everybody for listening in on the last episode, spending your time just listening to me drone on about how we test ourselves and stuff like that. Couldn't go through that again, so that's why Vern stepping in is a massive help to all of us. So yeah, just want to give an update on numbers really. So like in terms of YouTube, again, thank you everybody for subscribing. We've not quite hit the 100 mark yet, but we're getting there. Our LinkedIn page is like almost up to 400 followers on LinkedIn, which is incredible. So yeah, so if every single one of you like subscribe to the YouTube channel, hello, that would be amazing, wouldn't it? But yeah, so thank you very much, and thank you for all the interactions that been going on. So this episode is back on schedule. So this episode is testing 213. You may see a little bit of play there with the numbers, but we'll get into why that is in a bit. But yeah, Vern, how are you doing, man?
I am well. I'm looking forward to this. I like hanging out with you, as you know. So yeah, man, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. I tell you what, you're a lot more organised than we are, mate. I tell you, this is going to be very good.
Well, you say that, but we never stick to the script. So we always have a little tangents here and there, but it keeps us on track a little bit anyway. So yeah, but
there's some really good questions from the audience that I'm looking forward to getting stuck into as well. So that'll be good.
Yes, yeah. So thank you to those that contributed. It's probably about 4 weeks ago now when we were originally looking to do this episode. So thank you to everybody. So Philippa, Udaya, Adil, Richard, AJ, Ben, and even a comment in there from the Messiah himself, Richard Bradshaw. So I wouldn't worry about being on this podcast, Vern, because he's chipping in on other ones, right? So yeah. But no, thank you, Richard, for giving Vern your blessing to join this podcast. Vern has actually sat in this seat as well. Right? So don't forget that, right? Vern has sat in this seat. He tried it on for size, and had a picture taken with the wonderful sign above my head. So and he even wore the hat. You wore the hat, right?
Yeah.
You did, didn't you? You wore a hat. And guess what? Look. We've got another hat that Vern's going to have in a few weeks' time when we see each other at Test Bash. So Vern hopefully will be rocking that hat. Cool. Okay, so very quickly, what are we going to cover off in this episode? So we're going to talk about what is testing. We're going to answer that question. So me and Vern are going to talk around that topic, and that's going to lead us into obviously some of the amazing comments from the people on LinkedIn. We want to talk. Obviously, I said about the playing word in numbers in terms of testing 213, rather than 123. Now that's really about nothing's really cookie cutter when it comes to testing, right? It doesn't flow in that way. There's a lot of different ways in which we can go about testing based on context, the influences that determine the types of testing we need to do, and so on. So we're going to get into a lot around that in this episode as well. I couldn't be happier to have Vern on. Because me and Vern have known each other for a number of years, and we've been through some stuff over the years. And we were talking just before we came on air about sort of how things have changed in our experience, and we'll tap into some of that as well. But Vern, what's been going on in your world over the last few weeks?
I think the two, I think the two biggest things are I was in Sao Paulo doing a testathon event with our pal Ronald. Shout out to you, Ronaldo.
Yes,
So
Ronald. We still need to get together, Ronald. By the way, don't forget that.
yeah, so Ronald's company organizes these testathon events, which we call hackathons for testers. So we were over there with the wonderful testers from Sao Paulo, and it was as awesome as a testing event in Brazil. Like anything, if you imagine a testing event in Brazil, that's exactly how it was. It was absolutely brilliant.
I'm imagining. I'm imagining. Yeah. So give me a minute. Yeah, 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 yeah.
The attendees were great. Um, the event sponsors were great. The food was great. The weather. So apparently it was winter. Apparently it's winter in Brazil. My weather app said it was 30 degrees every day we were there, which apparently was pretty weird, but I was taking it. Um,
Nice.
so that was fantastic. Had a really good time. Really intense. Came back, and I've sort of ended up in a what I'm describing as an interim part-time product owner role for my team. I think I
Interesting.
think I essentially you know that scene that we've all watched, or the meme that we've all watched, where somebody asks for a volunteer in the army and the row of people steps back and there's one person there just stood there saying, well, I'm not volunteer. Wait, what? They seem to have volunteered. It's like that. But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Nice.
It's going to be fun, actually. I think I want to learn a lot. I think I'll be asking a lot of the same questions and doing a lot of the same stuff that we
Yeah,
do in this
yeah,
role
yeah.
anyway. So it'll be fine. It'll be fine. So they're probably the two biggest things.
Yeah, yeah. You just need a cap now that's got "I'm your product owner" on, and then switch it when just so that everybody knows what hat
Yeah,
you're wearing on any one day, right?
you
Uh,
know what? Indeed, I am literally wearing another hat slightly some of the
you are
time
literally.
at work.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
gonna be good. So,
But
yeah.
I think it's interesting though, just on that very quickly, how roles overlap nowadays more and more. But we can probably talk more about that as we go through.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. Opinions there, opinions.
Yeah, exactly. Whose role is it anyway? Is that's not that's not a TV show, is it? No, no.
Yeah.
It's whose line is it anyway? Isn't it?
Whose line
Yeah.
is it? Yeah.
Hey, there you go. We've already discovered a new TV show that we can represent. So yeah, nice. So I mean, from my side, I definitely wasn't in Brazil, but I did take a 2 week holiday down in North Devon,
Oh,
um, and it was yeah, I think it was summer. It was summer down there, just about. It was just about summer. Managed to stay in shorts most of the time, which was good. Got a bit of a tan. I mean, I got a tan line there.
there you go. See,
Um,
then it was real.
you
The
can see
sun
it,
was
can't
real.
you? Yeah, yeah. You can see it just about. So that was cool though, but because obviously I started my new role at Capital One. It's approaching 3 months, but then it was just over 2 months, and there was a lot going on over those 2 months, and a lot of energy spent around getting into that discovery mode and stuff like that. So I felt quite tired. So the holiday came at a really good time and sort of has re-energized me coming back into that. Although, what is it about going on holiday and then like coming back and there's just so much that's you have to catch up on? What's wh- why does that happen? You know?
Yeah.
And I
Well,
did really well to not look at emails or anything for the
well,
holiday.
that's exactly what I was going to say. I think the fact that it feels like that is a good sign that you
Yeah.
were able to completely switch off and not have a little cheeky. Let me just have a little cheeky peek on Slack, or look at my
Yeah.
email real quick. That's kind of a good sign. But not to say that that's bad. If you feel you need to do that, I'm sure there are sensible
Yeah.
and
No, absolutely.
commendable reasons to do that. But it's also good if you get to switch off. It sounds like you're
Yeah.
able to do that. It's good.
It's the first time in years I've done that, so it was quite a nice feeling. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, did I pay for it last week? Yeah, trying to catch up last week, but it was all cool. It was all cool. So yeah, that was good. For those that have got any sort of 16-year-olds in the house,
Ah,
or older,
yeah,
we had the old
18-year-old.
GCSE and A level results coming out. So my son
You
did
did.
his GCSEs and he got his results last week.
Mhm.
But not only that, did he get his results. he also turned 16 last week, so it was a really big week for him. So yeah, but yeah, he did great on his GCSEs. He proper fleeced me though, Vern.
What happened?
Mate, he proper my. I tell you what, he's a hustler, right? So I'm sure that there's a lot of parents out there that want to reward their kids if they do well, and they kind of give them that little carrot, right? So I gave him a little carrot, never thinking he was going to reach the top end of that carrot.
Nah.
I had to remortgage the
he
house.
he did you, mate.
He
He's
proper
giving you
did
the
me.
head fake and
Yeah,
everything.
exactly. Or he struck a deal with his teachers to say, put
Nah.
my like estimated grades lower than what I'm going to achieve, so my dad falls for it, and then
Listen,
I'll share some money with you.
I
Because
was gonna say, if you see any of the teachers rocking the Ferrari or Lamborghini, you know what happened, mate.
I
You know exactly
certainly
what
ain't
happened.
rocking that now, I'll tell you that. Although, saying that, I have gone out and I have put a deposit down on a motorhome van.
Seriously.
Yeah, on a motorhome. So I'm selling my
So what's
van.
gonna what? Oh,
I'm selling my
what?
van. I'm selling my camper, my VW camper. I'm selling it.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
So anybody listening, if you want to buy a really nice VW
Listen,
camper, hit me up because yeah, it's up for sale.
jokes aside, it is very nice. If you are in the market for a camper van, he's looked after
yeah,
it. It's really nice. Is
yeah.
so the home bigger then? Is that you just needed more space? Did you?
Yeah, I just needed more space. I mean, you've seen how tall my son is now, right? So
Yeah, yeah, I have
he's a
actually.
big lad. He's getting
I
yeah,
think
and he
he's
ain't
taller
getting
than
any
me.
shorter. I know that much. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Fair,
no,
fair.
it's just yeah, we thought you know what? It's about time that we upgraded slightly. Not going to be as practical day to day, obviously.
Yeah,
Not going to be doing the school runs in the motorhome,
I
but
was gonna. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. We'll take up a
but
little bit more space on the old drive a bit.
yeah, it will do. But yeah, so I did that, so that's exciting. I've just got to sell mine now, else that might all fall through. But anyway, we won't talk too much on that subject
Yeah.
for now until I sell it. Cool. Okay, so let's get into the episode. But so, Vern, we've known each other for what is it like since 2010, 2011?
2011, yeah.
2011, isn't it?
2011. It's 13 years. Unlucky for some.
13 years. And you know what? We still look the same.
We do.
We still look the same. We still look the same and we still act the same, right? Exactly that. So,
There's been
but
a
I don't know. I
complete.
mean, to be fair, mate, I'm pretty sure most people watching or listening to this right now know you, right? They know Vern. They know Vern. Yeah. And it's that classic, like walking down the street, Vern. You're going, yeah, right. You
Oh,
don't know them,
whatever.
right?
Come on.
Because you're so famous. You're so you know people in
Let's give it a
Brazil. You know
rest.
people. But anyway, why don't you just give a little bit of an intro? Because you are our first special guest on this podcast,
Okay.
right? So why don't you
Okay.
just give a little bit of an intro for those that maybe don't know Vern
Sure.
very well? You know?
Sure. Okay. Okay. Cool. Greetings, everyone. So I'm Vernon. I'm on social media. I try to grab the handle on social media, Tester from Leicester, because I am a tester and I am in fact from Leicester. And as Stu said, I we've been friends for 13 years. So I've been in the software testing and software quality space for 22 years this year. Started out in video games. I was testing PlayStation 2 and Xbox and PC, so that's where I cut my teeth. And then from there, realized that this could be a whole career and a whole path. So I ended up working at e-commerce, products and services. I've worked in banking, telco. Well, I say banking, different areas of finance, um, and also worked at a airline, a famous airline company, which is where I ran into Stu. And pretty much now Stu can't get rid of me. I just basically follow him around all over the place.
I've tried cream and everything. It just won't go away.
He's tried court orders, the whole 9 yards. It's not working. I think he's just given up now. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, now we've known each other a long time. You know, I've got to say, one of the things I didn't realize, when I was a lad, when I was younger, is I didn't realize that being a nerd would take me all over the world, and you don't realize that you're going to make actual friends. And I think
Mm.
Stu has gone from, you know, colleague to friend, and we're locked in. We hang out outside of things like this. We we present together. We've hosted together. We've done all kinds of stuff together from a professional point of view. But it's now turned into this foundation of friendship. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
so when he needed someone to tag in for Big Chris, I kind of jumped at the chance because get to hang out with my mate. So it's all good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can't. I say I can't thank you enough, man, for doing it. So
That's
and
great.
for being our first ever guest on this show.
I just
It's a
need to come
special
back
moment.
when Chris is here. That's my
Yeah,
goal.
yeah. Yo, Chris is really disappointed. I'm not gonna lie. It's like, so yeah, you absolutely need to come back when Chris is here,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
like,
man.
yeah, it would be the awesome trio, so to speak. Um, so just talking about this episode then, Vern. So obviously
Yeah.
you mentioned there, right? We've been in testing for, well, in this industry for a number of years. I think I've hit 25 years now, I think.
Bloody hell. Wow.
Um, yeah, I know I don't look a day over 18. It's amazing, right? I mean,
How, did you did you start when you were one? You look aren't you
I,
26, 27?
I know, right?
What's going on?
It's like, yeah, they didn't pay well when I was that age, but do you know what I mean? A
Yeah.
few like bottles of milk and that kind of thing.
Uh,
But I'm not going to go too deep into that bit. But the I've completely lost my thread now. You know that, right? Completely lost my thread. Um, so yeah, so I think like obviously we've been in the industry for a number of years.
mm,
When you first started out, you
mm.
know, what how would you have described sort of testing in it back then? So and how has that sort of changed over time? So if somebody
Oh.
said to you, "Oh, Vern, yeah, oh you're the tester from Leicester, right?" Oh, by the way, you can never leave Leicester. You know that, right? Because you have to change your handle and everything. It's like it's a God given thing now, so you can't leave. But yeah, somebody said to you back in the day, right? Oh, so what do you do? How would you have described it then versus how would you have described it now?
Bloody hell, that's a good question. Hmm, I think back in the day, so when I first, like I said, I was starting testing video games. And what I didn't realize at the time is that the way we were working was extremely exploratory. Like it was definitely skewed towards that because of the nature of how games work. I don't know how many gamers we've got in the audience, but when you get a new game, you are totally exploring. You're looking for the weak points. You're looking for the rules that you can bend to your will. And that's how the job was when I started. But there's no way I would have described it like that. I didn't know that
Mm,
exploratory testing was a thing.
yeah,
I probably would have described it as I'm making sure that the game works,
yeah,
and I would it, and I chose those words deliberately. I didn't think about the other software that existed in my life. I would have said, "Oh, I've got to make sure that the game works." That's what my job is. I'm just playing the game to make sure it works. I'm pretty sure I said that.
mm,
You fast forward, you fast forward through all these different roles, all these different experiences, going to training, delivering training, receiving training, mingling with other testers at other events and all this other stuff, and you start to refine your ideas. You get exposed to different software development methodologies, and you start to change and evolve your thinking. Um, and now I would use a probably a quite a I don't know if I've got a single definition at the moment. It's a combination. Actually, how I talk about the job now is a combination of three things, and you're one of them actually. So one of them is a context driven perspective, which is I'm going to learn about the product by interacting with it.
hmm,
And then the second one is a modern software. They call it, I think they call it modern software development now, but a modern testing principles perspective from like
hmm,
Alan Page and Brent Jensen, which is accelerating the achievement of shippable quality. And I really do dig the principles that they espouse. And then the final one is one that we've talked about a couple of times over the last 2 3 years, which is around
yeah,
quality engineering and that culture side of things.
yeah,
Well, there's tooling, totally, but then there's this culture side. So I think that's where I've evolved to now. I'm still making sure that the product works, but now instead of looking for bugs in the product, now I'm looking for bugs in the delivery process / company. I'm looking for bugs in how do we interact as humans trying to build this product or this service, which is there's no way I would have even been thinking about that crap when I started. No
Yeah,
way.
yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? How like you say, all those years, all those different interactions, all those learnings have kind of
Yeah.
morphed your thinking and into something completely different, right? Even though you were doing it
Yeah.
originally, you're just now more aware, but also there's new concepts that have come out and over
Yeah.
time and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when I started out, I mean, I started out in a UAT analyst role, and it was a fixed term contract for a year. Um, yeah, and I stayed at that company for 10 years. I mean, that's one hell of a fixed term contract,
I
right?
think you did all right.
Uh,
I think you did all right, mate.
I must have been doing something right. That's all I
You
can say.
definitely
I
did
mean,
something right.
considering I didn't know what the hell I was doing when I went in there, but shout out to the team there. They did some amazing training on the job and stuff like that. So
Mm.
it was really good. But back then, how testing to me was I've got the like kind of to your point. I've got this software. So back then it was mainframe I was testing, right? So
Oh,
um, I think it was AS, yeah, either AS 400, AS 390, but it was
bloody
typical
hell.
mainframe, software, right? Um, so it was like just writing some scripts around what you know big specification documents, going through those
Mm.
specification documents, pulling out the key elements of what this software is supposed to do, writing some scripts about what this software is supposed to do, and
Interesting.
then running those tests and then raising defects. And it was kind of like that was it. That was kind of like that was what I thought testing was. It was like I'm here to find
Interesting.
defects in this software and report them
Okay.
to the developer for him to then fix, and then I'll retest them again, running the same tests that I ran before, right? Um, and go over that cycle a number of times. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Everything was manual and stuff like that. I never,
Yeah.
but now, you know, my thinking is very much in the same headspace as you. But the I look at testing as being a tool in the toolkit to delivering an overall quality product, whatever that product may be. It's not the
Hmm.
only thing, but there's also multitude of dynamics to testing. So
Yeah.
it's not just testing the software, like you say, it's testing the process and testing the
Yeah.
interactions we have and testing the mindset and testing you know, just through questioning and stuff like that. So my whole perception of testing is now much, much more holistic, as is quality as a whole. Um, but it's for me, it's very much about information gathering,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
gathering information and then interpreting that information in a way that makes sense to somebody to make a decision,
Love that.
whether that person
Love that.
might be me or somebody else.
Love
Um,
that.
so
Information gap. Sick.
yeah, so you don't really know what that information necessarily shows you to start with, but everything. And I learned this on. I'm sure you've done the barefoot coaching as well. Right? You've done
Yeah.
yeah, where um, everything's data, right? Everything is data, and that's really
Absolutely
stuck
everything.
with me. Everything,
Yeah.
so conversation you have, a test you run, you know, an interaction you might have, was it's all data that you can use as information to then say, you know, is this a quality product that we want to ship or not ship or whatever, and how we actually go about doing that. So my thinking around it has massively changed. And no doubt it will continue to do so as we keep evolving and keep trying new
Yeah.
things. How I kind of so going into Capital One, how I've kind of stepped through that process as as we're going through it at the moment. I'm trying to build that culture around quality and break it down into three key components. One is how do we define quality?
Mm.
What are the core values, and then what are the principles that we then want to implement Like they're
Mm,
technical and non-technical, um,
yeah,
to basically deliver on those things above. But how I sort of talk about it is people, process, tools in those three things, starting
yeah,
with the people.
yeah,
Tools for me come
100%.
last, but in a lot of people's sort of thought patterns, they often come first, and it's just kind of shifting that mindset around. For me, a tool is there to help you achieve something, but you need to know what you're trying to achieve for the tool to
That's
be relevant or not.
I think that's super duper like I don't know understandable because we're all on some level I believe anyway on some level if you're in this game, this software testing game or software development space, you are a nerd on some level. And so tools are basically awesome. Like you get a new tool and you're like, oh, there's this thing, there's this tool that can solve this problem or do this thing auto magically and it saves a whole lot of time, it makes life easier, whatever. I think we're all, it's a very human thing
Mm,
to to want to use tools for some aim or some purpose. So I think that's cool. I think the challenge that I've seen, and I know you've seen it because some of the places I've seen it, I was with you. But I think
it's
I
probably
think
because
the
we were
challenge,
there.
yeah, we were there. I think the challenge is when you can get. I like to say you can get seduced by the tools.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? You can be lulled into a false sense of security by the tools because they are so absolutely incredibly awesome.
mm,
Um, so I like to do what you describe and take a step back and think about, well, what problem are we trying to solve with this? Why are we even using this tool?
yeah,
And I am definitely biased towards the people side of things, which probably comes as no surprise to you, Stu. I'm a little bit biased towards the people side of things as well. Definitely.
100%. Yeah, um, I think it's interesting. I think that the coming back to the what is the problem you're trying to solve. I think that works in not just with tools, right? In
Yeah,
any way, but
yeah,
often with tooling, you can get yourself into a situation where the tool dictates to you how you do things rather than you picking the right tool to help solve the problem. And Vern's
mm.
just blowing a kiss to somebody there for those that can't see on the video.
Yeah,
If you're just
yeah.
listening,
Quick
yeah,
tangent. My
yeah.
daughter starts secondary school tomorrow, so she just came to bid
Oh,
me good
awesome.
night. So yeah,
Oh, bless her. I hope she does amazing. Hope she has a really great first day, man.
yeah,
Um,
me too.
awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Um, so just kind of tapping into that a little bit more, then,
Okay.
what would you say are the biggest myths around testing?
Biggest myths, mate.
Yeah, and
Mate,
actually, so some of these might have been in the past and they no longer exist, or some of these will still exist today, right? But in your
bro.
opinion,
Now I'm looking. Now I'm frantically scrambling because I literally have a list.
you
I
literally
did.
have a list.
I did a
My
night
days.
talk, and I just went through a list of myths, so I can just blast through them now, and I think some of them might still hold. So I'll try and do it
Go
quick.
for it. Yeah, go.
Uh, Here we go, from top to bottom in the order that I wrote them. Anyone can do testing. Nobody would ever do that. Why didn't you find that bug? Test cases equal testing. Programmers cannot test. Testers should program. Programming is the only technical skill worth learning. Testers should not share their test ideas. The only way to control testing is to count things like bugs, test cases, etc. Performance testing must be done at the end. ISEB and ISTQB will solve all of your problems. ISEB, ISTQB is the root of all evil. How long will it take to test this is the only question that they want answering. There is no value in checking. There is only value in checking. Testing equals QA. Testing adds no value. Quality is value to some person, but you're not that person. Um, testing testing equals checking. Requirements equals requirements document. Test plan equals test plan document. I'm halfway through. Don't worry. I'm nearly done. I'm nearly done. Oh no, I'm more than halfway through. Testers cannot contribute to hackathons. I've literally just disproved that one. Testers add no value. Project management adds no value. Automated checking solves all of your problems. Automated checking solves no problems. Automated checking is free. You'll like this one. BDD equals testing. Regression testing theater mitigates all risk. 100% test automation is possible. Zero defects are possible. Best practices will save you. And the last one is testers just click buttons.
That's a hell of a list, man. How long have you been making that over?
I came up with that in maybe 10 or 15 minutes. 10 years ago. Almost exactly. Bloody hell. Was it
That's
10
pretty
years ago?
impressive.
11 years ago. I was talking to Emma Keaveney um, at Test, what was it? Test Bash 2013. And I just came up with this list, and then I went and did a 99-second talk. I love that list. I go back to it often
Yeah.
and write about stuff. But yeah, it's just there are so my very first talk anywhere. Well, not that's not true. My very first talk at like a paid thing where people
Yeah.
paid money to go to was about myths. It was about myths of of testing, and I essentially just gave people a survival guide on how to deal with them. So the first thing that I said, the first bit of advice was to not be surprised or startled when you run into them because people's
Yeah.
experiences are different. And then the next thing was following on from that is try and figure out where is the truth in what they're saying. There's something about their experience that has made that thing true for them on some level. So
Yeah.
try and figure out what that is. But then the next thing is to try and share your perspective and share with them, well, okay, got it. Have you looked at it from this point of view? Have you looked at it from that point of view? Um, and I've found that can be quite useful. I used to get really quickly pissed off and triggered with some of these
Mm.
when some of these myths manifested themselves.
Yep.
So the last one, testers just click buttons. That is actually the first time we worked together in that team. I heard that one. That's why I added it there. And to be fair, the guy who said it deliberately was trying to wind me up. Like he knows that's not true,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
at least at the time he didn't think it was completely true. But he just kind of said, "Oh yeah, you guys just test. That's all you do. Just click a few buttons, right?" And he's a bit of a wind-up merchant. So shout out to you, Tim. He's a fun guy to
Oh,
work with.
Tim. Yeah, I remember Tim.
Yeah, you remember Tim? Absolutely,
Absolutely remember Tim.
one of the best developers I've ever worked with ever. Like, just a really great guy. Um, so yeah, there's a bunch of myths there that I think some of those still stand up. Agile testing is all about automated testing. It's like, I can see why somebody would think that, but I don't
Yeah.
think it's necessarily true all of the time. But I can understand why people would arrive at a conclusion like that.
Mm. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a really good. I mean, I think a lot of those still hold up, depending on the nature of the
yeah,
company that you're
yeah.
working in and just who you're speaking to at any one point. I mean, I know I know you pointed out the BDD one, but that's a classic for me. It's like so at what point did BDD become about purely testing? Right? I don't know, um, but it has, and you have to dispel those myths at many places. Um,
Mm.
I mean, that's what I was doing when we first met. Right? It was converting a load of test scripts into given when then statements, which was
You
the
know, that was
complete opposite
literally
of
what,
actually what you know.
dude. Do you remember? That is literally what you were doing.
It
Because if you
was,
remember, I don't know if you remember, when I started, you weren't even there. Like
I wasn't.
you had, because people, this is the before times. Like we're going back to 2013.
Yeah,
Working remotely was not such a common thing. But Stu had been sent home to work from home, so he was not distracted, purely so that he could convert the existing test cases into BDD feature file like Gherkin syntax like
yeah,
tests.
yeah.
And so I must have been there. I think I think I might have been there 2 weeks, and then
Yeah,
you showed up and we had a chat, and then we just and
yeah,
here we
yeah.
are. But that was the
But
fact. You're like, yeah, let me show you what I've been doing, and
yeah,
by
little did
that
I
time,
know it was completely the wrong way of doing everything, right? So,
bro, neither did
but
I.
we all
I'd never even heard of it until then.
no, neither had I. And it was like it was a bit of a baptism of fire. But you live and learn, right? And we all lived
Yeah.
and learned. And it's always good to have those stories in your back pocket for
No,
when you go
it was
elsewhere.
2011. It was
It
2011.
was 2011, yeah,
Wow.
2011.
So yeah, it's the like I say, I find the thing is not to get too offended and angry when you run into these myths. That's the most important thing.
Yeah,
Or at least not don't let that reaction run away with you. I think that's the key thing.
yeah. I think knowing your own triggers, like having that emotional intelligence to know, because I know, like, I would always get triggered when people would go, "Why wasn't that tested?" Or or even a big one. I think we touched on this in the first episode. Actually, we have a testing problem.
Oh, bro.
We
Yeah.
have a
Oh my
testing
days.
problem, and it's like
Oh, yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That would automatically, like, I would see red and just go at whoever that was. Nowadays, it's like we may have a testing problem, but we've definitely got a quality problem, right? If there's an issue, so you know you can open up the dialogue more and just have a much more sensible conversation around it without, if you can just control those triggers.
Mm,
But yeah, so yeah, definitely people don't get offended. Me and Vern have been around a long time, and if we got offended at everything we heard over the years, then we would have got out of this game way way sooner. But we're still around, right?
yeah.
Still fighting the good fight, and things are definitely different. I think a lot of those myths still do hold true in a lot of cases, but
Mm.
you know, there's new ones out there as well, right, nowadays. Um, so yeah, but I'm so glad you had that list. It was like almost like we planned it, and we hadn't planned it at all.
Totally unplanned that.
I'm unplanned
Completely
that, right?
unplanned.
The fact that Vern had to search for it there and then as well shows that he's very good at filing stuff. So if anybody needs any lessons on how to create a nice little filing system from back in
Do not,
2013 onwards, have a
do
chat with
not
Vern
call me.
because
Do not call me. Oh, you should definitely speak to Nicole from Adobo and Avocados. She is the file system legend for sure.
Man, I'm terrible. I'm really bad. If I couldn't search it, then I wouldn't know where to look. As simple as that. Simple as that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, just while we're on the topic of testing myths, so to speak,
Okay. Okay.
in your opinion, Vern, and we're gonna tap into a load of the amazing comments and answers that we got
Mm.
from all the viewers and listeners when we put these questions out there. But I'm just interested in your opinion to start with, to this question around, can testing ever equal quality?
Oh, see the you've thrown ever in there,
Mm,
which I'm going to interpret as, is it possible?
mm,
I would say yes, but basically no. So testing and quality are not the same, right?
yeah.
Testing and quality not the same. Uh, I'm willing to die on that hill. I don't think I hope that's not too controversial.
Hmm.
Um, so I would say if and the reason I say it might be is because if your biggest problem is a testing problem, so or rather if your biggest challenge to quality at that time is the testing that you're doing, and you improve the testing, then you have improved the quality.
Mm,
But they have become synonymous, and I don't think that they are.
yeah.
They are not the same thing, and it's pretty easy to demonstrate that because of the, let's say, Stew and I's vintage. There's a I don't know how
Bottle
global
us
this is.
up, Vern. Bottle us up, and sell us on.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. There's a famous example, technology example that we've probably talked about in the past, which makes no sense now, which is VHS versus Betamax. And this was a recording format from the
Yeah.
70s/80s.
For those that aren't old enough, absolutely.
Yeah,
You might have to Google it. The
definitely Google
images will not be high resolution images,
bro,
but
bro.
you know,
But and you can. There's more recent examples. So Betamax was you could argue, had no bugs. It had been
yeah,
tested well, but was it quality compared to VHS? The market said no. There's another more recent example, which is probably my all-time favorite example of this product. I think it was. Hold on, more googling. Yeah, Juicero. Definitely. If you've not heard of a Juicero,
what what's a
look in.
juicero?
So Juicero was a product. Let's say functionally it worked. What it did was it squeezed juice from a packet into a glass. So you
Okay,
would buy packets of juice, you would put the packet of juice into your juicero, and the juicero would squeeze the juice from the packet into the glass. Can you see a problem here? Why don't you just get the fruit and squeeze the juice out of the fruit?
exactly.
Or why don't you
Yeah.
just
Did the
put the
juicero
thing
not do that as well? No,
and
was it
pour
not?
it out? No, no. It
No.
literally, as you can imagine, this thing didn't go well. They got a lot of funding, from venture capitalists and all this kind of jazz,
Yeah.
investors. And obviously the money went up in smoke because the product was not quality. It worked. It did what they said it was going to do.
Yeah.
It met the requirements. So from that perspective, there were no bugs.
Yeah.
But the market declared that there was, in fact, one colossal bug, which was this is a complete waste of time and money. I'm not buying it, and so so they didn't. So I think from that point of view, it's pretty easy to demonstrate that testing does not equal quality because both of those products were tested. Both of
Mm.
them, quote unquote, worked,
Yeah.
but they were still terrible products. They were still of low quality, low value.
Just to play a little bit devil's advocate there, though, coming
Mm.
back to, we've always said quality is subjective, right? Not always,
Yeah.
but we say quality is subjective, right? It will mean different
Hmm.
people to different, different things to different people at different times, and all
Hmm.
that based on their needs at any one time, and you know. So if you've within a company, what if you define testing as your quality?
What do you mean there exactly? Can you like
So coming
elaborate?
back to your point there, right? So you say it did what it is supposed to do. Now,
Yeah.
if that company's definition of quality was it just does what it's
Ah,
supposed to do,
right.
does testing therefore,
Well,
or is it? I'm
so
playing
this
devil's
is
advocate a little bit. Right?
I think this is the heart of a lot of problems just with any human interacting with another one, but we're talking about software development here and software quality and
Mm,
software testing. I think getting to the bottom of what what are my peers and my stakeholders' expectations about what I'm supposed to do on a team.
mm,
So if their expectations are, I don't know, I can't remember how you described it, but you'll start. Am I just writing a billion and one test cases
yeah,
that are quite low low power, let's say, like they're very one dimensional, and it's just
yeah,
the requirement said I'm supposed to be able to squeeze juice out of this thing, and then I get juice in my glass. Cool. You can do that, and I have done something similar to that, which is back in my video games testing days. The controls, we were testing a third person shooting game called Bad Boys 2. There's a whole story about that, which I can.
We'll
It's talked
save that
about
for the
a billion
next
times.
episode you join us on.
Yeah, it's a it's a third person shooting game, and there are other third person shooting games in the market, right? That are way better than ours, way better, more popular and better graphics, the gameplay, everything better. But one of the
Licensing
requirements,
as well.
yeah, one of the yeah, indeed, one of
Character
the
licensing.
requirements, yeah, one of the requirements is the controls.
Yeah.
So you press this button, you should shoot. You do this with this button, and you move. You do this button, and you crouch. We could test that, and we did test it, and we were like, this works. So when I press the button to shoot, I shoot. When I press the button to run, I run. When I do the thing to crouch, I crouch. But what we reported as well as that was, all these other popular games, they've configured their controls completely differently.
Mm.
And so what we're asking people to do is buy our game, which is already not as good, and learn a completely different control system, which actually doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Now, the company decided that was not a bug because it didn't matter to them.
Yeah.
It didn't threaten any value that they cared about. So it was deemed not a bug. But us as gamers, we were, we're going back decades now, so we were all young with far less responsibilities, and we've just played games all day. We thought that was a bug. Same way with the Juicero. We're like, well, does it squeeze juice out of the bag, out of the packet? I mean, yes, it does. But no one cares. Like, why is anyone going to do that? Like it works. So does it work? I mean, yeah, but it's stupid. Like we should not
Yeah.
do that thing. So yeah, that's how I would answer that question. Is that what is the definition of our bug of our job? Are we trying to find? Are we just being very narrow minded?
Mm.
And it's very much, well, I'm just gonna. If you tell me it's supposed to do A B C, I'm just gonna figure out whether it does A B C, and that still is quite a lot of space to explore. Or am I just looking for? Am I thinking broader than that? Am I looking for any problems with this product of any kind? And are you interested in me sharing those?
Yeah.
Are you interested in me committing time and energy to look for these things that you haven't really even thought about, or do you just want me to focus on the requirements?
Yeah.
I hope I
Maybe
answered the
we.
question.
Yeah, I think yeah. And look, it was a bit of a out there question,
Trap.
right? It was to trap. Yeah, there was no right answer to that question, really. But
What do
maybe
you
just
think?
come. Well, I'm just gonna elude that question for a second because
Ah, okay.
uh, just picking up on a point there. Maybe we need to introduce a careometer. Do I care or not? On a scale of 1 to 10,
Yeah.
it's like that. Yeah, maybe that's our measure of quality. Do I care? No. Well, we don't give a damn then, right? So just ship it anyway. Um, yeah, I think so. So just I think from my side, you know, I'm in the testing alone does not equal quality, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Here
So
for it. Here for it.
it
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
it
yeah,
absolutely contributes to it if it's done
yeah.
well.
Mm,
Um, and obviously that's another question that we'll come onto in a minute. But doing it solely to prove quality, as a measure of quality, i.e., number of bugs you've found, number of tests you've run, those very qualitative metrics rather than quantitative metrics.
mm-hmm,
So coming back to my point about information gathering,
mm,
information allows you to provide qualitative metrics, right? So
mm,
does this do what the requirement said it needed to do? Well,
mm,
yeah, but actually what it's doing isn't it's pointless, right? That's my qualitative metric. Why is it pointless? Because X, Y, and Z, right? And then you start building a story out of you know the actual quality of this product that we're trying to build, right? Um, so by doing the testing, you can gather that information, but you need to interpret the information that you're getting back to
yeah,
then make a decision as to whether that's a qualitative measure or not.
yeah, yeah. That's an excellent point. Yeah, that interpretation step
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I went through with the control experience that I had on this game. They looked at it, and the powers that be were like, "Nah, that's not a problem for us." Not us. So it
And it's
means we've got to keep.
frustrating. It gets frustrating, right? That's maybe that's something that thinking about anybody getting into this industry or is in this industry. I think we're all stepped into that frustrated sort of mindset on occasions, but yeah, don't
Hmm.
let it get you down, kind of thing. Keep
Nah,
keep on tracking, so to speak, and
that's it, man.
you know, things will. Yeah, you're making a difference regardless. So
Mm.
cool. Okay, so shall we get into some of these amazing comments
Oh, yeah,
from the viewers and listeners?
yeah, man.
Um, again, just to want to shout everybody out first. So, Philippa, Udaya, Adil, Richard, AJ, Ben, and Mr. Richard Bradshaw as well. So, thank you again for all your comments. We're not going to read every single one of them out because we'll be here all night, but we'll pick a few out and sort of just chat around them. So, on the topic of can testing ever equal quality,
Mm.
Vern, do you want to pick one out for there?
Oh, okay. Where? Hold on. Where was? Yeah, I liked. Udaya gave an extremely like thorough scenario
Yes. Yeah.
to demonstrate what we were just talking about actually. So what Udaya said is she used this example of health, and
Yes.
health was the synonym for quality in her example. So she was saying, look, if you want to, if you if you're interested in your health, you would it covers all kinds of things, physical health, mental health, maybe even spiritual health. Uh, but you could go and have a blood test as a means of figuring out and determining are you healthy, and you can have a really positive result from your blood test and say, yep, your blood test results came back fantastic, and still be unhealthy because overall health is broader. It includes your mental health,
Mm.
diet, um, lifestyle habits, all this kind of stuff. So that one data point of your blood test could come back super positive, but the rest of your health could be,
Yeah.
pretty bad. So I thought that was a really good example. So that was a cool answer to the question.
Yeah. I really like that example. It was there. I mean, the actual detail. You've skimmed the surface of what's in
Big time.
Odea's response, but yeah, it was really detailed in terms of what we went through. Um, I'm
What
going to
about
pull
you?
out.
What jump out for you?
Yeah. Which one was it? I was. duh, duh, duh. This one from Philippa. So um, Philippa Jennings. Hey Philippa, how you doing? Philippa's yeah, she's often contributing on our. I've got flies in here. Get away. I've
Have you got bugs in your podcast, strip?
got bugs in my podcast recording. What's going on? I don't like it. I don't like it. So Philippa says, personally, I don't think so. I see testing as being one element that helps us to check the quality of things, but is not the same as quality, nor can it ensure quality either. The definitions show that they are both nouns, but when carrying out the task of testing, you can also talk about the quality of the testing or ask about the testing quality, but the same cannot be said the other way around. So you cannot carry out quality as a task. So you can carry out testing as a task to help you achieve quality, but you can't carry out quality as a task.
That's
Um,
interesting.
if, as discussed in the last episode, see, Philippa's a regular listener. See, this is what I
True
like it. I like
supporter.
it.
Shout out to you, Philippa. Well done.
I like it when people would refer to the last episodes because it means they're listening. Quality is related to our expectations and/or our conscious, subconscious standards. Then this is not the same as testing. Testing can help us to identify if our expectations and standards have been met. So in short, testing does not equal quality. There you go. So I really
Nice,
like that.
nicely put.
Yeah. So I like how you've expressed that, Philippa, and given those examples. Shall we have one more from this question?
Okay.
Do you want to pick one, or shall I pick one?
So we're looking at answers from
Can
AJ
testing
Woods
equal quality? Yes.
and Ben
Yeah.
Dowen, who are
Yeah.
very cool individuals. So you should definitely be following. Let's go with AJ's is short and sweet.
Yeah.
So AJ has said, can testing ever equal quality? Not in isolation. Meaningful data is a big part of it. Testing measures the progress and status, alludes to gaps and degrades in quality, etc. Testing is just one part of the huge holistic Venn diagram. I have nothing further to add. That is
Do you
agree.
know what though? I really want to draw out this Venn diagram because
Okay.
I'm such a visual person. And when I read that from AJ, it got me thinking about what would that visually look like. So a Venn diagram of quality and all the components that make it up, and how they
Bloody hell. Wow. That would be a Venn diagram and a half. Yeah, good luck with that.
Exactly, right? So AJ, if you're listening, right, and you fancy starting that off, maybe that's something that we all collaborate on, and come up with an industry standard of Venn diagram for quality. I think that'd be quite cool. I'm such a visual person. I'll just like bring it to light of all those different components.
Yeah, bloody hell. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, I'm here just thinking about the Venn diagram and how mad it would be. It was like, yeah, that's a challenge.
Exactly. So the other question we asked,
Okay.
and I won't ask you this, Vern. We'll just go straight into the answers,
Yeah.
but then we can talk around it afterwards. Is what? Well, I phrase this in a couple of different ways, but what does good quality or great quality testing look like? So how would you describe it? How do you know if you've achieved it as such? So let me pick somebody that that we didn't read out first time. So Richard Hinton. Hey Richard, how you doing, man? Thank you for your contribution, sir. And Richard and Ben are both have stickers. So because of their contribution, I sent them a sticker, and Richard shared it on his laptop. So yeah, thank you very much. So testing in its purest form is verifying if software performs as expected. If requirements are poor and we test that the software meets those requirements, then we don't have quality. Since we started shifting left and testing requirements, we now ensure their quality, enhancing the quality of the product. So this shows that the quality of the testing is directly related to the quality of the product. So they're intrinsically linked, so to speak, is how I'm reading that. So if the quality of your product, or if the product that you've got you feel is of high quality, then Richard's description there, and apologies if I'm not doing this justice, Richard, is saying that that's the way you know that you've done the quality of your testing is up there as well.
That has spun me out a little bit because I was sat there thinking about it feels like there's an emphasis on requirements there, and I think that's a really interesting factor to play around with. I think we might have alluded to it earlier with my ridiculous waffling, but one of the myths is, it makes me think of one of the myths of requirements equals requirements document. And if you play around with that and then feed that into what Richard is saying here, I think you can come up with some interesting consequences as a result of that.
Yeah.
But that's a good answer.
Yeah, I mean, Richard's saying there about testing the requirements. Yeah. So by shifting left and testing the actual requirements up front, so challenging those requirements, questioning them, throwing scenarios at them before we've even
Yeah,
written a line of code,
yeah,
to then obviously, so start building quality in at that point through that
yeah.
type of testing. And then obviously, depending on the quality of the product that comes out the other end, will help you determine whether the quality of the testing that you've carried out has been
hmm
sufficient enough or not. So,
And that
so yeah.
whole as expected thing as well. That's another thread to pull on as well.
Mm.
What does that mean? But no, this is these are very thought provoking answers, man. I gotta tell you, I'm sat here
I
forgetting
know.
that I'm on the podcast and I'm supposed to be talking. I'm like, oh, what's happening
And I don't edit anything out, right? So however this comes out, this
no,
comes out. So yeah, we do it el natural. We don't
oh
edit
shit.
unless
Okay.
unless we have a massive balls up. So as long
Oh
as we
no.
don't have any of them, what you see is what you get, warts and all, people. Uh, so, Vern, do you want to pick? So we've got,
I do.
uh,
I really do.
yeah,
I already know which
a
one I want
couple of other people actually that we didn't speak about in the first
to.
part. So go
I
for
want
it.
to talk about Ben Dowen's answer this question. So the question was, what does great or quality testing look like? And I
Yeah.
really liked Ben's answer. So here's what he said. For me, great testing provides useful, timely information that is actionable. And what this looks like will be different depending on the context of the product, its maturity, and the given set of recent changes. Before great testing can be useful, you need an empowered team who can make meaningful design and development decisions based on what is discovered during testing. Um, Finding contrast is too low is far more helpful when you have a designer on hand who is empowered to help you choose a new color quickly, even if it's different from the brand guidelines. Often, what is thought of as great testing and quality at a basic level, meeting requirements, is bad for quality. It should help evolve requirements. Ooh, ooh, ooh. That last part there, mic drop.
Yeah.
Love that. Look, there's so many things I love about that answer. So one of them was the part where he said it should be actionable. I was like, good grief, indeed. And where he talked about an empowered team, and I think that part relates back to the really great answers people gave to the first question
Mm.
around just testing equal quality. I think when they're empowered, now it starts to feed into the quality now because now you can act on what you discover during testing,
Yep.
which is what Ben said. And
Yep.
his example about finding contrast that's too low, yeah, if you've got a designer who can understand the impact on that and the power of that information that you've shared and they can act on it, yeah, that's fantastic. I really like that answer. So shout out to you, Ben. Thank you for
Yeah.
that.
And by the way, you said about mic drop. I wouldn't want Ben pretty much mic dropped at Test Bash last year when he beatboxed, come up on stage and beatboxed in front of everyone. You know, uh, so fair play, Ben. I might have to get you on just to you me and Vern doing some beatboxing on a later episode would be quite cool. The old Boots and Cats. You remember Boots and Cats, Vern? uh, there is a
Oh,
video. I think Ben might have a video actually. So Ben, if you're around, you want to share it. Please do again. Um, okay, cool. So just a couple of others there. So Adil, Adil Husani, thanks Adil for your contribution. So good quality testing means covering all parts of the software, finding issues early, having a strong and automated test suite, and testing efficiently and on time. It also means focusing on high risk areas, getting positive feedback, clear reporting, great teamwork, and using continuous integration and delivery practices. Overall, it boils down to customer satisfaction on a continuous basis. There's a lot there. There's a lot there, and I think there's some nuggets in there that I want to pull out. So, um, looking at the high risk areas, for
mm-hmm.
example, I mean, we've all been in those situations where we're squeezed for time. Yeah. So how do we focus our efforts? Okay, we'll focus in on those high risk areas, and actually, if we can achieve those high risk areas, it gives us confidence and improves confidence of what we're going to deliver and get it out the door. Feedback,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I mean, Adil mentions positive feedback. That's a really good sign that what you're doing is good and of a level of quality, but also the opposite to that, right? Getting just feedback in general, regardless of whether it's positive or not, is going to give you an indication of whether what you're doing is right or wrong, or adding value
Yeah.
or not adding value. And yeah, even touching on like things like great teamwork, going into the human or the people side of things there as well. So there's a lot of great things in there. Again,
The only thing I might not agree with is the automated test suite part.
mm-hmm.
That's the only thing I wasn't sure about because it felt too specific.
Yeah.
So in other words, if you aren't using test automation, does that immediately mean that you aren't doing great testing?
So one way you could look at it is if you've got a strong automated test suite, it enables you to do more exploratory and other
Mm.
types of testing that you wouldn't normally be able to do to gather more
Mm-hmm.
information. So
Mm-hmm.
if you look at it as an enabler to something else,
Okay.
then I think that's something to be thinking about. But just by having an automated test suite on its own, and that being your key thing without it enabling anything else,
Mm-hmm.
then I tend to agree that no, it doesn't necessarily define that you've done high quality testing just by
Mm.
having the automation suite in place. But I look at it as all these things supplement each other.
Yeah.
So it's like all pieces to a puzzle.
Yeah.
And if I want to make that beautiful picture in that jigsaw, all those pieces have got to play in there and come together. And so having the automated suite alongside other things for me
Mm-hmm.
adds that value. And also it does help you achieve feedback quicker. So again,
It does.
you're able to adapt and stuff, assuming
Yeah,
that
it definitely can do
and I think the thing in there is having a strong automated test suite, because
that. Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I think the
He
emphasis is
did
on
make
that.
that point, didn't he? He didn't just say
Yeah, yeah,
any
yeah.
old automation. Yeah, good shout. Yeah.
No, exactly. So, but yeah, and then just finishing off, right? Your partner in crime, your co-host for the Vernon Richard podcast. Give a shout out to that amazing podcast that you guys do together. Um, Sir Richard Bradshaw. Oh, we should actually like knight him, Sir Richard. We give him a MBE or
No,
something, should we?
do not.
No,
Do
no.
not do
Oh,
that.
okay.
No, no.
Oh,
That'd be a
okay.
massive
So
mistake.
in the next episode, I'm sure he'll be referring to himself as Sir Richard Bradshaw. Um, so Richard actually kind of took this to a slightly different level. It's like, this question confuses me. Can you reframe it? Are you asking what good testing looks like? Are you asking what quality testing looks like, as in good high value add testing, which means the question is the same? Or are you asking what good testing looks like in a wider approach to quality? Now, we did
Mm.
answer this question for Richard, and we basically said, pick one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the reason I wanted to leave this in here is because um, we're often faced with having to make some assumptions or making those decisions around,
Yeah.
this is the information I have at this time. I've asked some questions and maybe I don't get the answers I'm expecting.
Mm-hmm.
So, then I have to make a decision. So all you can really do is act on the information you have, and look at the context, and use that data, so to speak, to make that decision as to what you might go about testing or not. It may be that, as it turns out, that it wasn't the right assumption, but
Yeah.
we often have to do that, and but even the reason why I want to leave this in here and talk about it is because just by asking those questions, Richard's testing his understanding of something, right? And actually,
Yes.
to be fair, I didn't have an answer, so I just said pick one. So, I think it's another indication of like, as in our world, in our roles, we need to be asking those questions. We need to get clarity, and actually, a big part of knowing whether you've done good quality testing is around the questions you ask for me, right?
Mm.
So, gathering
Mm.
that information up front, you know, how you mitigate those risks through discussion, and sometimes you will have to make assumptions. Sometimes those assumptions will be correct. Sometimes they won't be correct. But I think it's a really good example of, you know, not just immediately just going with your assumption to something, right? And asking those questions.
That's
Not
what I was
not
going to say.
not that I'm trying to big up Rich or anything like that, but
No,
it,
if
it was really good.
what what's interesting is he's not the only one. So we're just for the people who can't, well, no one can see. So we're looking at the answers that people have given us, and if you look
Yeah,
at some of the answers,
yeah,
nearly everybody has done that. They to this question, they has got some questions
yeah,
in there like, who's your customer? What are their needs?
yeah,
How your products can help them? And
yeah,
then AJ is like, well, do your testers work with designers and take part in research ever? Do the
yeah,
testers have a feedback loop with product support, etc.? Like a lot of the people that have replied have, you can see their testing instincts are, wait a minute, there's a little bit of ambiguity here, or there's multiple
yeah,
ways to interpret a thing. So they either do that, or they'll do what some of the other folks have done. I guess you could say Ben has done this, which is he's kind of said, "Well, I'm going to state my assumptions. I'm going to say, assuming this, then this is what the answer is."
exactly. Yeah,
And I think both of those are really good ways of
yeah,
handling that ambiguity, aren't they? You can say, "Well, let me clarify some questions." You can say, "Well, assuming A, B, and C, this," and then that gives the other person an opportunity to say, "Well, B is not true. Like B is actually this." Do
yeah.
you know what I mean? I think
Yeah,
that's real.
exactly that, and it's that classic. It depends.
Yeah, and it's
It
true, man.
depends, right? It
Yeah,
depends.
yeah,
It
man.
depends on so many things. But
It
I
does.
think, how everybody's framed their answers. There, to your point, you know, they've been very clear in describing what they're thinking, and why they've chosen to answer how they've chosen to, and stuff like that. In any way. So some really good answers in there. And as I say, we've everybody that's contributed has been read out in one way or another. Obviously, but everybody
Good.
contributed to both questions as well. So thank you very
Awesome.
much for doing so. So what this does mean is, as promised, whenever we do one of these um, listener and viewer feedback
Ooh.
sessions, we do a little bit of a prize draw, a little bit of a prize draw. So Vern's, hopefully you'll get excited. Vern, you gonna get
I am.
excited?
I'm hype, man. I'm hype. If it wasn't for this bloody noise cancelling software, I'd be doing a drum roll. Can you hear that? You can't hear that, can you?
No, you can't. Can you hear me?
Just. You've also got some.
Ah, there you go. I've got
Yeah.
some. Yeah, exactly. But we'll make it up. We'll make it up.
Imagine the drum roll is happening, people.
Yeah, imagine. But first of all, right, just to so we clarify. So the last
Yes.
winner of the last competition that we did was David Mully. Okay, so David Mully got himself a T-shirt, one of these, but in black. He chose his prize, by the way. But he also
Oh,
got a water bottle. He got a mug. What
what?
we didn't have at the time was stickers. Now we've got stickers, and like I
Oh my
said, Ben and
days.
Richard Hillington have already got stickers, so they know
What?
how amazing they are. Um, and actually, look, here's one of the stickers
No.
on on the quality talk quality. Oh, I can't even speak. I'm so excited. The Quality Talks podcast competition box. Can you hear it? Yeah. So again, I've got some. I've got names in here, but in terms of prizes, obviously, whoever wins will get in touch, and you can choose from t-shirts, hats. We've got new water bottles
Bloody
printed.
hell.
Right,
What one of those?
so we've got hoodies. You name it, we've got it. I've got my hoodies down there. Actually, I'm not going to go and get it because
Swag game on point.
it is swag game on point. We've got white caps, as I showed earlier, which is going that one in particular is winging its way to Big Vern.
It's been claimed. You can't have that one.
Been claimed.
Whoever's going to win.
So I'm going to shake the pot. Shaky, 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 shaky. Everybody's getting really excited. Who's going to win? Who's going to win? It's like the lottery, isn't it? Right. Okay. So I'm going to pull out. Well, I'm not even going to look. Right. I'm going to pull out two names.
Two names.
That's one. It's a really deep pot. Got two. Okay. I've got two. So Vern, hold on. Mix them up. Here we go. All these people that are like just listening, like not even seeing what's going on, are going, "What the hell are they doing?"
What is going on?
So now I'm holding my hands out for those that are just listening on audio. Holding my hands out to the camera, and Vern has the really big decision as to which hand is he going to choose for the winner.
I just have one wish that it's not Bradshaw. That's all I'm going for here. Right. Okay. So.
Okay.
I'm going to go with your right. Yep.
That one?
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
My right.
Yeah.
Oh. So the winner of the second Quality Talks podcast giveaway is Richard Hinton. Yay!
The right Richard won.
The right Richard won. No offense to the Sir Richard Bradshaw at all.
You know I love you, Bradshaw. But well done, Mr. Hinton. Well done.
Yes, very well done, Richard. I will be in touch with you, sir, and we can discuss what merch you want. There is a catch, obviously. Once you get your merch, you will need to take a photo and post it on our Quality Talks LinkedIn page. And recently, I've heard that David Mully, who actually did that, he posted his pictures, also wore his Quality Talks podcast T-shirt on his trip to Ireland. So he was at the airport and he's gone international. So yeah, I know the Richard, what is it? The Vernon Richard show hasn't gone international yet, has it, Vern? But we won't go into that. Oh well, maybe it did. You was in Brazil, so I better shut up.
Oh my days! Too funny.
Right, so let's wrap this baby up.
Okay.
Thank you again, Vern. Massively thanks for joining. It's been great fun having you on, sir.
No,
we'll definitely
my
get
pleasure.
You back.
My pleasure. When we start, because we've got an idea to have guests on our podcast, so we definitely want to get you and Chris on. That'd be really good. And we definitely this is not going to make any sense, but Chris Armstrong, if you're listening to this episode, man, you know what to do, bro. You know what to do. Hopefully that'll make sense. That's a bit cryptic, but hopefully that'll make sense in the days
multiverse of podcasts.
Yeah, indeed. But yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it. It's been good fun. And thanks for letting me sit in the big Geordie's seat. Appreciate
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. There is a catch though. You need to put on a Geordie accent to say goodbye.
How do you wait? Is he a Geordie or a Mackham? Because I don't want to get that confused.
Oh, I don't know.
Is he from Newcastle or Sunderland?
Oh, I don't know. He worked at the Nissan plant in Sunderland. I don't know if that means he's from
massive
Sunderland.
danger. I can't do the accent.
Let's not do the accent.
I can't do the accent.
No. Let's not do that. We can find that out. I think he's a Geordie. Or we can find that out. I think he was from South Shields. Maybe.
That's not helping me.
No. Anyway.
Sorry. tangent.
we digress. We digress. We digress.
Yeah.
There we go. So yeah, no, thank you, Fern. Thank you for everybody for contributions to helping make this episode. Thank you to all the listeners, all the viewers. Make sure you share, subscribe, like, comment, feedback. I'm just going to keep doing this because I've run out of ideas of what to say. But yeah, been great, Vern. Love you, man. Join us again on the next episode of Quality Talks Podcast. We out.
Peace.